Ask me all the shit because I'm with the shit, so.
Whoa, come and talk to me. I really wanna meet you, girl. I really wanna know your name.
Alright, welcome to Intimate Conversations. This is a safe space for people to get out their stories, speak on their perspectives, try to break the gender wars, and try to bring us all together and listening and understanding people's point of views. So, what is your name and where are you from?
So I go by Kichi Lee, aka Chi for short, because people are a little slow. But I'm originally from Jersey, but I've traveled around a lot, and I've been in Philly for quite some time. So Jersey, Philly girl.
Okay. So, what do you do?
I do a little bit of everything. I'm a very creative, artistic individual. My main focuses and passions right now is definitely poetry, visual expression. I love fashion and music.
Okay. Alright, so I want to start from the beginning and get some of your background. So, what was childhood like? Like, what was little Chi doing? What was little Chi running? How did she, does she have siblings? How was the parent life, you know?
She was always crazy and a little subtle, even still, and that's what I kind of pride myself on still, because I haven't strayed far away from who I am. I've always been rebellious and curious-minded and very childlike, so I definitely pride myself on that. I have a lot of sisters, but I've always been the boy in my family, as you can kind of tell a little bit. So.
All right, so how is your relationship with your parents? Like, what does that look like?
It's gotten better. It was not the greatest, like, at all. But through my spiritual journey and trying to understand life and myself and other individuals, I've grown to get to a place of understanding with my parents, and I have a better relationship with my mom, and is gradually, slowly getting there with my dad. So I'm extremely excited about the new space that we all are in.
Alright, so with your siblings, are you close to any siblings, certain siblings? How does your sibling tree fall?
So it's been all over the place with the different dynamics of my childhood. I was closer to one of my sisters when I was younger, and it's funny because my youngest sister on my mom's side, we just was always feuding for whatever reason, and she's actually the closest sister that I have right now. And unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, I wasn't able to really build certain relationships with my younger sisters on my dad's side. So I finally had the opportunity, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And I look forward to, what the future holds for that.
All right. So coming up, would you say you ever felt alone, or did you always feel surrounded?
Both.
Like love-wise, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like you were loved?
This is a really interesting question. For the most part, and even still, I've always felt alone. I always did my own thing. And when I was younger, it never really bothered me, and I was never really present to it because I never really understood or grasped that. But getting older, I understand and understood the significance. But I don't feel like I've experienced love the way that I would have desired to.
All right, I'm not mad at that. All right, so were you always like into the arts? Were you always like doing poetry, drawing? When did that start?
Yeah, I've been into drawing forever, but I'm trash now because life and shit. So I fell off from that, unfortunately. I wish I would have kept up on it. But poetry, I got into that when I was in like middle school, and it's been more of a therapeutic thing based off, I never really had anyone to talk to and understand who I was and feelings of being alone. So it was more of like a self-condoning therapy thing and self-soothing thing that I never really got from anyone else. But aside from that, just creating in generally gives me life, and it's like the most exhilarating thing aside from other things that we're not going to talk about right now. So,
All right, so when did the tats or the piercing start? Like, when was the age you got your first?
To be honest, I don't really know when this shit started because I didn't plan any of this shit. But I remember the first 2 tattoos, and I'm kind of proud of that. It's like some gangster shit, but I got 2 for my first time, like 2 weeks before I turned 18. So I was super proud of that. And then the creative side just took the fuck over, and I'm a little impulsive, so it's just like, it's kind of history from there. But I love it because it's like a inward, outward expression of who Chi is. So
right. So is it more an addictive thing for you, or is it more pain therapy?
Both. It's both. Someone asked me this question like a long time ago, and I didn't really comprehend it because that's not where my mind was. But looking at it now is definitely a numbing situation for me, but it's also a elevation for me in the accomplishment of overcoming certain situations as well. So it's a part of my journey, my expression, and just who I am overall, and I love it. It makes me me.
Right. Yeah. So I'm a little tatted, so I kind of know a little bit about this question. About I asked you, what is more painful? What is the piercings or the tats?
Clearly, the tattoos, depending on the area. So piercings for me, they're just like quick, simple, and those are more a part of my sexuality. My tattoos, I'm a little bit of a gangster, so it's not too many, but there are certain areas that make me want to punch a motherfucker in their face. So I was a little mad as shit about some shit.
Tat?
Damn. It's so many, but I would say there's one that's like a centerpiece. I'm very, I wouldn't say prideful, but I'm proud of who I am and how I show up authentically. So I'm an Aries, and I clearly express that in a lot of things I do. So I have like a ram skull.
Okay.
The ram's like right here, and I have horns around, this area. And it's a really intricate design with gems and a flower or like roses, and it just embraces the overall collective of who I am because it shows my masculine and feminine vibe.
Okay. All right. So at what age did you start to garner the attention from the boys or the girls? How did that play out? Like, what age did that start?
Shit. As far as I can remember, it was very young.
Do you think you were prepared when it first started happening?
Honestly, I didn't know what the fuck was going on because when I was young, I was very naive. I was still how I am, very spacey and in my own world. I didn't understand what things meant because I didn't really fully see myself until I was older. But I would say if I could recall, like 9-ish, because niggas was saying some weird shit that they just shouldn't have been saying.
So was this older guys or like in your age range?
Both. Like, I remember my older sister's friends. You're my girlfriend and you got these pretty eyes, and it's like, okay, thank you, I guess.
Do you feel like your body matured faster than you?
I assume so. Like, I couldn't even tell you because I only started to see myself as a woman when I lost my virginity. And that was about like 17. So I never really viewed things as the world, I would say, viewed things. I was just living life and having fun and being in my space, honestly.
Okay, so at 17, when this occurred, were you in like a loving relationship, or was this like just something that just happened? Was it a boyfriend
I'm
or
processing,
a friend?
so like,
Right.
nah, we was together.
Okay.
It was like my first serious boyfriend.
Right.
It's actually my daughter's father. And it was a very in-depth learning experience for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I shaped and molded myself, and I saw and developed who I am currently from that situation. So although it wasn't the most ideal, it definitely made me who I am today.
Okay. Do you think you having a kid with him or him being your first, do you think the relationship got better or worse after that?
I feel like it wouldn't have made a difference overall, but it definitely didn't get any better, unfortunately.
Okay, so what was your turning point in letting that go?
When I felt numb and defeated, when I just wasn't getting what I needed from the situation. He was my first, and there was a lot for me to understand in that process with self-care, self-love, and just knowing when to let go. And I didn't for a very long time, and it affected me a lot. And I'm not gonna lie, it still does, because I'm a loving person. I still care about him, but you can only control what you can control at the end of the day. So it is what it is.
Okay, how did motherhood change you?
Man, listen. Motherhood definitely taught me everything I need to know about myself, about what unconditional love looks like. To be completely honest, I feel like I've only experienced that with my daughter. I can be my complete full self with her.
Right.
There's no judgment, there's no bias, there's no nothing. It's just there. And she teaches me patience. She teaches me so many things I feel like I haven't been able to learn in a lot of situations. And I'm extremely grateful and happy to be a mom.
That's what's up. All right, so what do you do for fun? Like, what is your outlets?
I got a lot. I'm a little crazy. It just depends on my mood and my vibe. Like, I'm an Aries. I don't know if y'all know too much about that, but we a little crazy. So, I have my chill vibe, but I have the demon time
Step
vibe
out
too.
the demon time.
So yeah, they just can't leave it at that. But I get a little crazy.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. All right, so what do you think is the biggest thing that has ever happened to you, and the worst thing that has ever happened to you?
I feel like the biggest thing. It's extremely hard. Because it's kind of like, I feel like a two-part question for me. But the biggest thing would be falling in love. Was the worst thing that happened to me. I would say the worst in a sense because I allowed myself to lose myself for someone who wasn't willing to grasp who I was.
Right.
And the best thing that happened to me out of that process was my daughter, because she gave me what I was missing out of that situation.
So do you feel like you're misunderstood?
Yeah. A whole fucking lot. But for a while, it was something that bothered me a lot because that's all I wanted.
Right.
And you know, I still do want that to an extent, but I don't really give a fuck too much anymore. So it's like, if you get it, you get it, cool.
Right.
But I don't need the validation. Like, I've done the work in a more spiritual space. I'm centered and grounded. So who needs and wants to get it is going to get it. And who doesn't, that's cool. It's no wavering either way. I accept people, or try to,
Right.
just as much as I want to be accepted and understood very evenly.
All right. How do you view yourself versus how other people view you? Like, do you feel like attentive? Do you feel like you're affectionate? Do you feel like you're
That's
a
funny.
tomboy? How do you feel? Like, how do you view it?
I feel like I'm an unconventional, multifaceted, confusing person to myself and to most people. So I say that because people that I've dated would always say that I don't care or whatever. I'm very neutral for the most part and nonchalant. I'm just super chill, and I value peace. So people may misinterpret that as something completely different. Of course, I always get this stripper stereotype.
All right.
And trust me, if I was in that space, like, I'd fuck it up. But, you know, I'm just saying, I'm past that. But I welcome it. I really do. It doesn't bother me anymore like it used to, but it's just interesting to see, because when I have conversations with people, it's just like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. So I love that wow factor that I have. And it's like a mystique that I have to myself that always engages and captures people. And then I just pull them in a little bit more once I, tell my story or, speak a little bit.
All right. When did music come into play, and is that where you feel like you could be your full self?
So I'm a very curious-minded person, and I like trying new things and challenging myself. So music came about fully in like 2016. A lot of people already told me that, I just have this look and they think I'm an artist. So I'm like, fuck it. Let's see what this space is about. And I tried it. I'm not opposed to it. It's super dope. I just don't really fuck with the hidden agendas and the narratives behind this necessarily. I feel like it could be something dope as long as I have the creative control to do it the way that I want it to be perceived.
Right. So it's more or less the politics of the business side. That's like a turn off. But you love the artistic side.
I'm all about creative expression. So anything that allows me to be my authentic self, and anyone who resonates with that, like, I'm not for selling bullshit and pretending. I'm not good at lying. I'm not a pretender. So if it allows me to be in a space where I can be authentic, then yeah, I'm gonna fuck with it.
And what would you say is your genre of music?
Politically, it would be, of course, rap, a little bit of pop and R&B. I can't sing for shit, but I'm dibble and dabble and mess with some shit. So
it's vibey.
yeah, shoot with the vibes, like that's what I do.
I'm not mad at it. All right, so how are you progressing, like, relationship-wise? What does that look like for you?
It's interesting. Amongst other things, I am dating. It hasn't been great, like the dating process for me in general. I'm very particular in what I need and what I desire, and
So tell us, tell the guys, what are we doing wrong?
dang, shit. Kind of fucked me up with that one. I don't want to tell anyone what they're doing wrong, but from my experience, what's been lacking for me is intentionality, consistency. What I need is someone who's just balanced in certain areas, and I would get maybe 3 out of 5 or whatever, but spirituality, intelligence, fun, open-mindedness, sexualities, strong point for me. But I just need someone who's open at the end of the day and who knows what they want. A lot of people really don't know what they want. A lot of people aren't really committed to what they think they want. So it's just, I need someone who gets it. And, we'll see what happens.
Do you feel like you know everything that you want, or you're still working on?
I do know what I want, but I will say I'm still working on myself. So I know that I'm not perfect. I know I got a little bit of issues and shit. So we're not gonna talk about that on camera, but I'm aware and I'm working on it. Though,
I'm not mad at that. So how many times do you think you've been in love?
Give me a second. It's really crazy. Like,
what's up?
I feel like you set me up. Maybe like 3 or 4. I'll say 4 because that's my number. So.
Okay, 4 times.
Yeah, I'm a lover. Slightly a fighter when I need to be, but more a lover.
Alright, so since you've been in love 4 times, how many times do you think that you've been loved properly?
Damn, that's a hell of a question. I feel like it's unfair for me to say that I haven't been loved properly. I feel like the individuals who I have done my best to love and show that towards, done their best for what they knew and understood how to do, honestly.
Alright, how do you feel about sex in a relationship? Do you feel like it's the connection, or like where is it on the list for you?
It's definitely one of them high ones, but where I'm at in my life right now is more about intimacy and connectivity and depth. Mentally, for me, if it doesn't make sense, I'm good. I need the mental stimulation, and I'm an energetic person, so if I feel like this is just then I'm good, honestly, because that doesn't create longevity for me, and that's what I desire at this point in my life.
Have you ever met somebody and been drawn to them?
Plenty of times, and I've learned with that doesn't always mean that they're your person or your soulmate. You have multiple, from my understanding, you have multiple people that you will be aligned in the sync with, but it doesn't mean that they're the person for you. It just means that they could be there for a lesson or a season and a reason. And I value that because it always helps me grow and align more with who I am and where I need to be.
All right, where do you think that you lack when it comes to relationships?
So, dang, you just gonna bring that right back.
You gotta get it out.
I see what you do. It's okay. Fuck it. We here. So, where do I lack? I know I can be very dismissive and avoidant because I've taught myself to react a certain way to avoid feeling certain things, and it's not healthy, unfortunately, but it helps me better regulate my emotions, and that's something that's significant for me to work through, because growing up I've had and developed anger issues from a lot of things that I've seen and experienced from my household, and I never really had a release.
Right.
So it's a really complex situation for me from a lot of different angles, but and I'm a sarcastic guy, so slide that in there. But yeah, it's not a good situation.
Can you take it?
I can, and that's what makes it worse because it kind of fuels the fire for me. So I don't recommend it. Just FYI, don't do that. For you.
I'm not mad at it. All right, so like, what kind of girlfriend are you? Are you like a touchy feely, or are you like when I see you, I see you?
So it's levels to it. Initially, I don't like people in my space because I'm an energetic person. Also, because it's more of like a trauma response. Unfortunately, I am a very sensitive, passionate person. Like, I love fully, or at least want to, and I'm still very naive and very childlike and very easily broken. So it may take a lot longer for, compared to the average person, but I do want those things. It just depends on what's being shown consistently for me, honestly.
Alright. So what's the worst thing a guy has ever done to you? And what's the worst thing you've ever done to a guy? Like, are you out here breaking shit? What are we doing?
So, I would say the worst thing a guy's done to me, besides breaking my heart, is physically putting their hands on me. I've grown up with that in my household, and I don't play that shit. So I'm gonna put my hands on somebody if I need to. And I would say that's the worst I've done too, because that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. And I realized at this point that was more of a survival, instinctive thing. And it sucks, but that was the lowest point for me, for myself, and in any type of relationship, because growing up and seeing that and witnessing it, I didn't want to be a part of that for myself. But shit happens.
All right. Do you think you need or you want a leader or a partner?
What's wrong with both? Sounds like a trick question. I need both. I've been raised by single mothers of 4 girls. And I have one. I'm not going to say it's hard. It's hard in certain aspects, but to comprehend that she raised 4 by herself is phenomenal to me.
At this point, do you feel like men have let you down?
Yes. But more than that, aside from men, in certain spaces I've let myself down because I've allowed it to let me down. Through my whole spiritual journey and everything, I've learned to forgive and forget. Not forget, but at least forgive. And I really dug deep into what the forgiveness part meant. And there's 2 individuals that stick out for me in that process, and these were and are the most significant pieces of my life, and that was my daughter's father and my dad. So I understand that they're separate individuals and they have their own thing going on, and I can't fault them for what they know and who they are and where they come from. And I would never hold that against them. And unfortunately, in some spaces, at least with my daughter's father, we just don't see eye to eye. And as frustrating as it can be, I try not to hold it against him. It pisses me off a lot in certain spaces because I'm a mom first,
Right.
and my daughter is my life, and she deserves the best, but I still love him. I will always love him and care about him and wish him the best. And you know, some things are just out of our control, but he has helped me significantly in growing as an individual. So has my dad, and me and my dad are, you know, slowly, gradually building a better relationship. And for everything full circle, I'm just extremely grateful for how everything panned out, because it makes sense for me and where I'm at right now.
All right. So how old is the daughter now?
She's a big girl. She's 14.
Uh-oh,
Yeah.
you got a teenager now. All right, so
So
how is
romantic.
it being the mom of a teenager?
It's fucking wild. In this generation, like, y'all have no idea the types of conversations that we have, and I wish I could, like, just retract it from my brain, but it's crazy. However, one thing that's super significant with our relationship is communication. And I'm extremely grateful that we have the type of relationship that she feels comfortable enough to tell me about all this crazy shit in the first place. And I pride myself on just, you know, giving her something that I just really didn't have either. So it's a beautiful thing.
How do you handle social media with her?
We have what I would say an unconventional relationship. I treat her as my equal. There's little to no ego, I would say. She understands who I am. I understand who she is. And we have an understanding of our dynamic. I don't facilitate too much. You know, she has her chores and her responsibilities, but I trust her fully in who she is. She's very intelligent and mature, and regardless of what I say, anyway, she's gonna do what she wants to do. But I have the luxury of her being comfortable and honest enough not to lie or hide anything from me. So that's the most valuable thing for me.
All right. Well, how are you telling her when it comes to handling boys?
I tell her boys they're a little weird and they kind of ain't shit, but I just let her know my experiences from, you know, being her age now, and it's pretty unfiltered, but more so in the space of her level of understanding. But it's hilarious because she goes through the same shit
Right.
I've dealt with and currently deal with, but it's very entertaining nonetheless.
All right. So, what is your number one love? Do you know the 5 love languages?
Of course I do.
So, how do you rank the 5 love languages?
How do I rank them? I've done the quiz. I can't remember off the top, but I know. So, I have to remember because it's like...
We got physical touch.
Physical touch, I know, is like one of the last two.
We got
Gifts
gifts.
is last.
We got words of affirmation.
Okay. So, words of affirmation and acts of service.
Acts of service.
Definitely top 2.
Okay.
Quality times in the middle.
Okay.
Gifts and physical touch are last.
Okay.
Because I'm a very intentional person. I like consistency. I love communication. I'm a very direct person. Aside from that, with acts of service, I love someone who can put me in my feminine space and make life easier for me because I'm used to being independent and doing shit by myself. Quality time, if I fuck with you, that's why it's like borderline in the middle. I want to be around you. Otherwise, I'm very comfortable being alone and in my space because it's peaceful. If you can't provide me peace, I don't want you there.
Right.
Gifts, it's lower on the bottom toe because if it's not intentional, if it's not thoughtful, I'm not a materialistic person, so I will appreciate whatever you do. It just doesn't carry that much weight. Physical touch is on the lower bottom because I'm an energetic person. I'm very empathetic and I feel and retract energy. So if I don't fuck with you like that, I don't want you in my space. I don't want you touching me. So it's a very sensitive space for me to want to be in with someone.
Okay. Not mad at that. All right, so I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on, like long distance relationships, things of that nature? Is that something that you could do? Or even if it was like, even if you had like a weekly thing where it's like, all right, I see you 3 days, and the other 3 days we both handling our business. Which one of them do you think that you could be a part of?
I've done a little bit of everything, honestly. Like, for me, it depends on the dynamic of the situation. Like, I'm very open-minded. I'm open to compromising. It just depends on the intent, the energy, consistency, and the initiation behind the situation. Like, if I trust you, if we on the same vibe, if there's a mutual understanding and we're making time for each other, whether it's in person or FaceTime or whatever the case may be, I just need that effort and confirmation. But if we on the same page, it just doesn't really matter to me.
All right, how important is it for your partner to either like want children or have a good relationship with your daughter?
First of all, we're gonna skip to the second part. Because before we get into having more children, you have to fuck with my princess. Right. Because if not, I'm not fucking with you. Like, she's amazing. Like, it's like me, and then it's that. So it's just like more amazingness. I'm just saying, but everyone's loved her, but I can tell the difference between someone who's really fucking with her and someone who's just showing face because she's an extension of me. But you got my daughter, you got my heart. I shouldn't be saying that, but check, put that on the list. Right. And then I definitely want more kids.
What's the number?
Because gotta make the even number 4. I love kids. I really do. I'm a kid myself, and the thing with kids, they're just so innocent. And just my one experience with my daughter, it's just given me so much life and love and energy and fulfillment, and everything that I do for her. As much as it sounds cliche, like y'all have no idea if you're not parents, like right. You don't get it. But
would that be a deal breaker for you if the guy didn't want any more kids?
I've never really thought about that, but yeah, it would. Because besides me wanting 3 more of my own, I also want to adopt and foster parent. Because I was in a foster situation for a little bit when I was a kid, and I just feel like I have so much love to give. I just want to, endlessly pour into individuals who want that, who need it. And kids just, they deserve the best, in my opinion. And some of them, especially in the, foster system, just don't get held the greatest hand. So
what was your experience in the foster care thing?
It was not great for me. It was a blindsiding situation. I was fortunate, though, to be placed in a foster home with my 2 sisters, one of my oldest sisters and my youngest sister. Right. If not, I would have been in a shelter. Who knows what the fuck would have happened, because I was wilding at that time. I was angry, I was confused, and I was showing my ass. But I'm very grateful for, my foster aunt, what we call her, for taking us all in, because that's something rare. Right. And she didn't have to do that. So I appreciate that a lot.
So were you like a badass in school? Are you fighting in fights in school? What's happening? What's the school like? What happened there?
I was not a badass at all, but I fucked somebody up if I needed to. I was very quiet. I was super shy and reserved. Like, I'm still kind of the same way. Like, if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. If not, kick rocks. But I was terrifyingly shy. And if someone told me that I was gonna be this now,
that's what I was gonna ask you. How did you break out of the shyness?
I can't fucking tell you. I feel like maybe when I got some Venus, it's just I'm just being honest, because after that, I just bust down Kichi just was fun. So listen, I really can't tell you. It's just like,
all right. So how does the fashion, like, when did the fashion thing start for you?
The fashion for me came along with the modeling. Again, I started all this shit because people kind of put it in my ear and was like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and fuck it. Cool. I feel like, honestly though, as I've lost my virginity and shit like that, it helped to open me up more to actually seeing myself and understanding me and finding my identity. So, in experiencing that and starting modeling and my passion for just understanding life and figuring out who I am, I just started fucking with shit, and I just got, I guess, kind of decent at it.
Alright, so, you said these are all things that, somebody feel you'd be good at this, you'd be great at that. Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about this? As you were a kid, what was your ideas of the future for yourself?
It still kind of aligns. Maybe not so heavy and so much, but like, it was super gay now that I think about it. It was like, I wanted to be a fashion designer and shit. But yeah, it was that mostly, and I feel like poetry. So it still kind of aligns. It's like subtly different, but it still makes sense.
Alright, so within your poetry, is this all your personal experiences, or do you take bits and pieces from everything?
For the most part, it's definitely personal experience, because how poetry started off for me was more of a therapeutic thing. Because my first experience with therapy, like family group therapy or whatever, it was horrible. It was with a white woman, and I was no more than like 12 years old, and this is probably why I still shut down to certain spaces when something's bothering me. But there was a lot that I wanted to say, but her approach was not inviting at all. I remember her saying something like, I get paid whether you guys talk or not, and that pissed me off. Like, I really wanted to punch that lady in the face. And I looked at my mom like, you're not going to check this lady? Like, what's going on? But after that, I feel like psychologically it just like really damaged me from wanting to really open up and communicate, sensitive spaces for myself, because I felt like people just didn't really care about that.
So poetry became your outlet.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you ever written a poem for a guy?
I did.
How
And
did that play out? Like, did you write it and give it to him, or did you write it and speak it to him?
Both, actually. So the first one I can remember was for my daughter's father, and it was actually on our prom night, which is a little gay, but you get it. So shit was fire. I'm like, alright, spit these bars real quick, and it was cool. And then in the morning, we got into an argument about whatever. I don't even remember, but it was handwritten, mind you. He ripped my shit up. And that tore me to pieces, literally, because that was something that I held extremely close to my heart, and that crushed me. And I didn't write anything for anyone in a very long time.
Are you still open to that?
Yeah, I feel like, dickhead shit.
All right, I want to ask you. I got a couple more questions. I want to ask you, what do you think the miscommunication or the breakdown between men and women is right now?
Ego.
Ego?
Yeah,
on
definitely.
both sides or one side?
Both.
Both.
I feel like I'll speak more so from like a cultural aspect. It's too much pride, not enough compromise and empathy amongst ourselves, especially in the media and the music.
Right.
It's pitting us against each other, and the narrative now is like the females are the new niggas, and unfortunately in a lot of spaces that has proven to be true, at least from my perspective.
Right.
But there needs to be a balance. A lot of people don't know how to communicate. A lot of people are uncomfortable with communicating, and we just don't have that safe space amongst each other to do that. So we're constantly clashing and bumping heads and against each other, and that just works out in the grand scheme of things, unfortunately. But we have to be intentional about our mental health, our individual healing, and our empathy when it comes to ourselves and other people.
Do you feel like you're a good communicator? Or do you feel like sometimes you shut down as well?
Although I feel like I'm a very good communicator, I know that I shut down. That's something I'm still actively working on. I'm pretty self-aware of who I am, and I communicate what I go through and how I react in certain situations. Not to say that it is an excuse, but I like to be transparent and communicate certain things. It's one of those things for me specifically where it's a bad habit that I've grown accustomed to. It's very like second nature and a reflex that I just have to learn to undo. But I'm aware of it, so step one.
Facts. I'm glad that
You gotta put that in there.
I'm glad that you said that part about acknowledging it, because I think that's the part where a lot of people get lost. I think people think accountability is when somebody tells you something and you accept it. I don't think that is accountability. I think accountability is when you see it for yourself.
Yeah.
And then you decide to work on it.
It's like, oh, that's what I do. All right, right. No, it's like, do you get it? Right. Like, do you see it? Like, a lot of people don't know what a lot of shit means, like gaslighting and narcissism and all that shit. They just be saying.
What's your take on narcissism or the word? Because it's a trigger for me.
It's a trigger for everybody apparently, and people be using it like wrong.
They use it wrong as well.
Narcissism, I feel like honestly we all have a tendency of being narcissistic, but there's levels to it. I feel like a worst case scenario is someone who just don't give a fuck. Like, they do all that shit, gaslighting, manipulation, victimizing. They don't acknowledge shit, no accountability. Someone who just isn't open-minded, who doesn't think that anything is wrong with them. They're not receptive to constructive criticism, and they make someone else feel and think that they're crazy for anything that they actually are experiencing. Someone who lacks empathy, it's just, they kind of like borderline sociopaths and psychopaths to me.
That's what I call them.
I mean, I was trying to be nice, but that's just what it is. So.
All right. So my last question is, what are your next steps? Like, what is the plan?
So it's funny because periodically within the last year, everyone's always, what's your plans? What's your goals? And the way I'm moving in life is like, I'm organized and I'm structured. I have goals and shit like that, but I'm not setting anything in stone. I'm present to where I'm at. I'm focused on my daily progress. I am, working towards poetry and all these creative ventures, but I'm in tune with what wants to show up for me. I'm not placing any expectations and pressures on myself. I'm basically enjoying my life, enjoying the process, and letting the universe guide me and lead me to where I need to be. I feel like too many people put a lot of pressure on themselves because that's what society said that you're supposed to do, but I'm going to enjoy the process while creating a life for myself. I'm not just going to survive. So, yeah.
All right, you said a word in there that a lot of people might not zone into or understand, so I want to ask you about being present.
It's difficult. I'm a very spacey person, so I don't even think I'm here like doing this whole interview. This shit just like is happening for me. But that's something that's been extremely significant for me in the last few years, especially with starting my spiritual process. But we think too much about shit that just doesn't fucking matter. And you can't control nothing in life because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And the way that I choose to live my life is living it like I'm going to not exist tomorrow. I don't want to waste any second for myself, for people that I care about. I just want to show up fully in an authentic space and let everything flow and move as it's going to be, because I can't stop life from moving.
Facts. All right, I want to get your take on this, and this will be the last question.
You sure?
Yeah.
I mean, we could keep going. I'm loving this right now.
All right, so I have this idea of people falling in love with the treatment that they receive from a person over the actual person. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting because my biggest thing that I tell people is it's hard to believe in an unconditional love because I feel like everything is transactional.
Facts.
For me, everything seems super structured and in a business aspect, and I've never liked it. I don't like the constructs of dating typically because it's very robotic. It doesn't seem natural or organic. I feel like most people just want to fill a void, honestly. I don't feel like people really understand themselves enough to know what they actually want or what they need. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought that I was ready for love until it presented itself. And it opened me up to things that I needed to work on. And I know what I want. And in knowing that, I thought that I was ready. And people just don't do enough inner work to actually understand what love means. It's not just a feeling, it's a commitment, not just to yourself, but to someone else if that's what you decide that you want. Especially with all the social media and shit that's out there, it just makes love more fleeting and less interesting, and it makes lust and temporary fixes and filling voids more accessible. But I don't feel like people really understand the constructs or the depth of what love really is.
What's that definition for you?
For me, it's unconditional. When I say unconditional, it doesn't mean unconditional tolerance, because everyone has their
Breaking point.
yeah. It just means, even still, past your breaking points, that you wish someone well. You don't have hidden agendas. It's not about you. At the end of the day, it's about the best interests of that person and how you can elevate the situation for that person and for yourself. It's about doing things that you would never think you would ever do, and growing individually and together. It involves a lot of pain, which can be uncomfortable and it's not ideal, but it's about forgiveness and compromising and communication. And aside from that, comprehension, patience, and being present for yourself from your perspective and the things that you need to work on, and being gentle with yourself, and the same vice versa with your partner.
This has been great.
It has been, right?
This has been great.
Take a shot of something.
Do you have any socials that you want to give out so people can follow you? What are you listening to? What are you listening to? Yeah.
Listen, that Doja Cat has me off the motherfucking ass. Like, I'm a tough critic when it comes to artistic expression, and Doja's been on my radar a little bit, but in my opinion, she snapped on that album. And I love every fucking song except for one. But I fuck with her because I feel like we are very similar in a lot of spaces, and she's just very multifaceted in what she does, and it's just really creative and artistically super fire in my opinion. Rihanna, for obvious reasons. Bae, shout out Rihanna. Aside from me, Kanye, yo, did y'all listen to that Unleaked shit? Nigga. That shit, Kanye, like, just get it together, just a little bit. Like, that shit is fucking retarded. Sabrina Claudia, man, that's just some poetic, sultry, sensual, assassin type vibes. SZA, I've been listening to her last album since that shit came out on repeat daily. That shit's fire. But I have my ratchet shit on Pandora that just shuffles every Cardi, Glorilla, the vibes. It just depends. But yeah.
That's what's up. All right, give them your socials so they can follow you.
Alright,
I'll put it on the screen as well.
I'm not big on social media, but I do a big on the shit that matters. So Instagram and TikTok is all I got right now. So Instagram, you can follow me at Hello Kichi. That's HelloKichi, and the same for TikTok. I don't got too much on TikTok, but I'm getting it together. I will have my YouTube up and a website as well, so stay tuned for that.
All right, modeling wise, what's the craziest thing you've seen modeling wise?
In what aspect?
And however it played out, if something happened, what's the craziest, your craziest experience in modeling?
Oh Lord, give me a second. Niggas just be wildin'. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I can say. Just, yeah. Let your imagination go wherever it needs to go on that one, because it be going there sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard stories of you're not gonna get these
Just
pictures.
the tip.
Yeah.
Dick out.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a crazy little expose over there.
Yeah, no OnlyFans over here. No.
Right. All right, thank you for coming on Intimate Conversations. This has been great. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the music.
On the way. First single I'm dropping is called Face It, so definitely look out for that. It's a whole vibe. It's something different with my homie Scan, so yeah. Fuck shit up, 2024, new vibes, new shit.
Thanks, I'm not mad at it. I like everybody thanks for tuning in. Make sure y'all like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for all episodes of Intimate Conversations, and we will see y'all back as soon as possible. Have a good one. Deuces.
Oh, come and talk to me. I really wanna meet you, girl. I really wanna know